A wise man once said something about glorified iPads and the devices becoming obsolete as soon as the next big thing gets released. Now, if I could just remember who that wise man was.
Might have been the same guy who just reviewed this thing the other day. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're gonna have an amazing weekend. This is SMG Viewers Comments, my weekly show where I answer your comments and questions about recording, music, just general life advice, you name it. You wanna know something about the studio day to day? I wanna hear from you. Leave a question below. Anyway, let's get right to it.
When I was doing live sound at a venue, one singer insisted on using his Behringer SM58 copy, and it sounded exactly the same. After 10 minutes of trying to get his voice to stand out in the mix without feeding back like crazy, I said feck it and swapped it with a real SM58, and what do you know, problem solved.
What do you mean the cheap imitator wasn't as good as the real thing? You're just a gear snob, man. Behringer's just as good as the real thing. You can't tell me otherwise.
Hey Glenn, ever think about putting out your own drum sample pack? I know you take on programmed drums, but there are people who capture live MIDI tracks and just need some good samples.
Hey Bill Ward, thanks so much for writing in. You are awesome on the Sabbath records, man. Seriously though, I've definitely pondered this question more than a few times, and really, it's up to you guys. What do you think? Would you like to see an SMG sample pack? Because it's something I'm definitely capable of putting out. I've just been kind of scratching my head. It's like, I'm not a big fan of samples. I've been very, very clear about that. But then again, I'm not disparaging anybody who's forced to use samples due to their living situation. Like, let's face it, if you live in an apartment, you're not gonna be miking up a live kit anytime soon, and you make music by whatever means you can. And I understand that most of you guys out there probably aren't doing live drums. In fact, I'm gonna take a wild guess. It's probably about 90% of you out there. The thing is, you know, I've been talking back and forth with Jackson Ward over the last couple months about the possibility of doing a sample set. You guys have seen Jackson on the show a million times, so if I'm gonna do a sample set, he's gonna be the one who's playing on them because he absolutely freaking rips. I love the drum sounds he can get with his hands. He's absolutely brilliant at what he does. So it would definitely be a partnership between me and Jackson. And if you guys have watched any of my gear demos over the last few months, check out the drum sounds. I'm like, would you guys be interested in getting something like that made available to you? You know, I really want to know from you guys. You know, would that be going too far? I'd be like, would I be like the most massive hypocrite on earth, or would it be a product you guys would be interested in getting your hands on? I'd really want to know. Could you please leave a comment below? Let me know either way, because I'm very, very curious to hear from you. Thanks so much.
Great video, Glenn. The band kicks ass. Now I will leave and talk shit about your video at thegearpage.net. That's what gives you likes over there. I'm gonna be all like, dude, I can totally tell the difference between A and B, and Fricker sucks.
Well, thanks, Hank, for at least being honest about that. Of course, you're referencing the Quad Cortex demo I did there a few days ago. And you know what? If people want to talk shit about me on other forums, they are welcome to it. I really couldn't give a shit. Because when you talk to other engineers, no matter the discipline or whatnot, we're generally really respectful to each other. I mean, like, you don't see pro-level engineers talking shit about each other. It's like, for example, take my friend Joey Sturgis. He makes records very, very differently from how I would, but I'm certainly not going to talk shit about how he does things, because what he does works very well, and I understand he works very hard at what he does. I mean, like, I give Warren shit every now and then, you know, for putting drum samples on his records, but I understand, you know, that's what he has to compete with, and that's absolutely necessary to do. But myself, I take a, hey, let's fucking keep this as real and as honest as possible. And if some people don't like it, well, they can just fuck right off.
Glenn! I have a Kemper profiler that I use to record all my guitar stuff. Something that bothers me a bit is I always have to EQ a lot of the lows out. Les Paul player here. What I'm doing now is I set up a multi-band EQ in the Kemper rig itself, so that sound comes out a bit closer to what I want to hear, and I don't have to do a lot of processing in the DAW later. Is this a wise thing to do, or should I keep all the lows and adjust them EQ in the DAW as needed? Thanks for all the great content.
Hey, Big Louie, that's a fantastic question. I think I've grappled with that sort of thing once upon a time as well, you know, and it's like, am I doing this right? You know, maybe I should. It doesn't hurt to ask. I think that's a fantastic question. The short answer is get the sound as close to you want at the source, so you don't have to fuck with it later, because it will just speed up your entire process instead of just trying to keep things as muddy in your Kemper, as it were, and trying to shovel out the bottom end. Dial the thing in how you want. And if you've got to put some kind of a multi-band or a dynamic EQ on it to get those lows under control on the Kemper, then fucking do it if that's the sound you want. But The other thing is you can try an experiment. You can A/B the two different things. You can leave your Kemper with a flat EQ and process it in post, and then listen to the difference. Do two different takes and two different mixes and figure out which one you like the best. Just make sure you go out and try your mix on several different sources, like a portable radio, your car stereo, not just your studio monitors, so you get the real picture of what's going on. Good luck, man. Hope it works out for you.
Lol, this dude bought Reaper.
Why, yes, I did. Ask your doctor if getting up off your ass and getting a job is right for you.
This mic sounds the same as a 57 without the transformer, which is precisely the thing we have here. The body of the mic has no transformer glued inside. Did you notice? Also, you didn't even bother with the level matching guitar tracks. You didn't because all you wanted to do was trash the product. Funny thing is, not so long ago, you praised the incredible new guitar recording technique your high-profile recording engineer buddy showed you. Involved in using a Behringer small mixer to dial in two mics in one track because the Behringer preamp somehow gave you better tone with the supposed distorting qualities. Guess what? Those mixers use the same op amps all over the BCP as name brands ones. Who would have guessed?
The butthurt is quite strong with this one. See, there's a big difference between mixers and microphones, mainly because one's a microphone, the other's a fucking mixer! Jeez, and if you had paid attention to that mixer video, you would have noticed I mentioned that when they were doing Great Southern Trendkill, they used a Mackie. Just so happened I had a Behringer on here. It really doesn't matter what mixer you're using, because yes, guess what? They're all using pretty much the same fucking op amps. Some of the circuitry might be slightly different, but you're gonna get similar results with a cheap Behringer mixer or a cheap Maxi or anything like that. Just anything cheap and two channels that you can blend on the fucking board works like a fucking champ. Now, the thing is, if you had stopped sniffing glue long enough to actually watch the video and pay attention to what was actually being said, I never actually said anything bad about that Behringer mic. In fact, I said it was a good blender mic. It would be a great mic to blend with an original 57 because they both have different frequency profiles. Sorry you missed that part. Never ceases to amaze me how people get upset about things that I never actually fucking said. As I said when I started this channel many years ago, it is time to put down the bong and pay attention.
What costs less, Behringer SL75C or Glenn's suit?
Well, I looked into it and turns out it's half hour with your mom.
I know you're not a fan of bass players for some reason, but would you ever do a bass review of maybe some of the new Spectre basses any fan from Scotland?
Actually, I love bass guitar. I love great bass players. I was going to have Billy Gould from Faith No More on the show at some point last year, but then, you know, the whole fucking COVID thing happened, so that put a damper on a lot of things. I was going to have Mike Inez on the show as well. I mean, like, I love great bass players. They're the backbone of metal, in my opinion. That's why I rag on bass players so fucking hard, is because not many people give the instrument the respect it deserves. That being said, if I get a chance to get a Spectre on the show, I would fucking love to do a demo on something like that. If you guys have more suggestions for bass gear to demo, I am all ears because I think it needs to be looked at much more seriously. That being said, I am expecting a package to arrive tomorrow from Hurtkey, and I'm going to be looking at their rig that's very similar to what David Elfson from Megadeth is playing. Definitely going to be wanting to check that out real soon. Make sure you watch for that.
Did your videos about anime not do well? Just wondering because you haven't mentioned any in a while.
You know, I was going to do like a dedicated viewers comments episode about anime. I'd still like to if you guys ask enough fucking questions about it. I just might. As you can tell, I am probably wearing my Skull Squadron shirt. I actually just watched Macross in the original Japanese on Amazon a few weeks back, and didn't quite have the same impact as the English Robotech did, in my opinion. In fact, a lot of the writers who wrote the original Macross series said what Harmony Gold did was way cooler in the long run, where they spread it out over 3 series and whatnot. It was really great. Here's hoping they do some kind of Robotech reboot one day on Netflix. I think that'd be really cool. I mean, like, they did the Voltron reboot and it really did well. And if they could ever get the licensing bullshit figured out, it'd be really fucking amazing. I think there's a story that needs to be retold for a newer generation because it's just fucking amazing. That being said, as for animes I watched recently, I just finished off Demon Slayer on Netflix last night, and that was really, really fucking good. But if you guys have more suggestions for anime to check out, I'm always down to take a look at some of that. Next up on my list is the last season of Attack on Titan. Can't wait for that. Just trying to... Me and the wife are trying to get our schedules synced so we can sit down and binge watch that over a couple of nights. Looking forward to that one. Don't give anything away!
Hey Glenn, question for you about a very specific situation. I said in other videos I'm starting and playing music in an apartment. I have a Joy Bandtamp Meteor and a Harley Benton 2x12. Thanks for videos on them at this moment. Although it's a 20-watt amp, it's pretty loud and I'm starting to get noise complaints even though I can hear a couple fucking their brains up from 3 floors up in the middle of the night and they get a pass. So I started thinking of ways to isolate the noise while I'm playing and I stumbled into building a modular sound recording booth so I can have an amp practice room without having the cops go to my door. Is this a good option for my situation so I can't make any modifications to the apartment? Cheers and fuck you from Mexico.
Hey, Pedro, thanks so much for writing in. That's fucking cool. I love hearing from people all over the world. Everybody down in Mexico watching the show, hey, thanks so much for all your support. You guys fucking rule. Can't wait to visit again one day. I really look forward to that. Anyway, I saw these like glass block things at NAMM last year that were really cool. It was like 2 sheets of like plexiglass suspended with this like inflatable plastic in between, and it actually knocked down the sound quite a bit. But in your situation, I think the torpedo captor is probably going to be the best solution. I mean, you're not going to have to screw around with miking up cabinets at all. You can just record and play silently and get absolutely phenomenal results. This I can't recommend highly enough. The circuitry is great. It's stereo. What more do you need? Honestly, I'd say either that or go with some of the new amp sims. Either that or save your pennies and get yourself one of these, because as we showed yesterday, this is getting very, very, very close to the real thing.
Regarding shipping brokerage for solar guitars or any other type of goods, working for a North American musical instruments distributor myself, a distributor also has to pay for shipping and brokerage, so these extras will be added into the final price of a product in store or online. Granted, a distributor orders in large quantities and benefits from discounts on shipping, but the customs duty amount, if any, depending on the product, remains the same, and a small percentage of all the expenses related to running the distribution company itself, rent, lease, equipment, salary, supplies, etc., is also added into the final price of the product.
Wow, thanks for that harsh dose of reality there, Debbie Downer. We all really do appreciate that one. Seriously, though, thanks for giving us some perspective. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of costs incurred into importing it, especially if you're running a distribution business, especially if you want to be profitable at it as well. I understand, the pricing for that's got to be, kind of tricky because you want to be able to compete with what's out there, but you want to be able to make a few bucks in the process by getting those guitars in there and make some money for actually doing the fucking work. So that's a very fine line to walk, and I thank you for sharing your perspective on that. I think we all as a community needed to hear that.
Glenn, old timers question. Apart from don't do it, any suggestions on transferring my old 4-track C60 cassettes into my DAW? I only have about 15 of them, so don't want to drop 500 pounds UK sterling on a Tascam 424. That was the original recorder.
Not a fucking clue, man. I wouldn't know where to begin with that question. Maybe try out a couple recording forums, maybe hit up Gear Sluts. They might actually be helpful there. Probably not, but they'll probably tell you need some new converters and a much more expensive preamp. That seems to be the standard answer over there. Seriously though, maybe check out the SMG Discord. Maybe somebody in there might be able to help you out. In the meantime, yeah, keep your eyes peeled to your local Craigslist or whatever you call it in the UK. Maybe you'll just luck out. Or better yet, wait for the warmer weather to come along, and hopefully post-COVID, we'll start seeing garage sales happening again, because you can always find good deals on old gear at those things.
Hey Glenn, what do you think of using the Trainer bass amp in a live setting? Maybe not as good studio-wise, but I feel mine can get loud enough to cut the guitars in a live setting. What do you think?
I'm not sure if you're talking about a head and cabinet combo or you're just talking about a combo amp itself. I've had a lot of luck with the Trainer stuff, to be honest with you. I remember, in a band I used to jam with, my bass player, he had, the like X amount, 100 watts head, and I thought that sounded absolutely fantastic. Always liked it when the Trainer bass gear came into the studio. It was always easy to get it to sound good, in my opinion.
Do you have any thoughts about the archetype Gojira by Neural DSP? I've seen a lot of positive things about it, but I'm also curious on your opinion on it. Thanks for the videos. You're absolutely smashing it.
Well, thanks for writing in, dude. I haven't got a chance to check that out yet. I just checked my Neural account, and apparently I do have a license for it, so probably should get around to making a video about it as sooner or later. It's just I've got a massive list of stuff I've got to do. But if you like the results you're hearing in some of the online demos, I'd say, yeah, definitely check it out, because Neural's just crushing it when it comes to amp sims these days.
I got laughed at for my Harley Benton Highway 24 BKS with EMGs and locking tuners.
Oh, well, fuck the haters. So you didn't drop a lot of money on your guitar. You know what? Some of those Harley Bentons are absolutely fantastic guitars. I mean, like this is the Amrock 6-string. I mean, like, how many videos have you guys seen me play this thing on since last fall? I mean, like, this has gotten a lot of use on the show because it plays great, it sounds great, and it stays in tune. And what more do you need, really? It's beautiful neck through the body. The action's great. I even threw a guitar synth on here from Fishman. That's really fun. Got the hex pickup and all that. But yeah, this has got a couple of EMGs and locking tuners. Now, granted, this one's a little more expensive than the one you're mentioning, but seriously, the Harley Bentons are just absolutely great bang for the buck guitars, and you should not be embarrassed for playing one. The fact that you are playing and you're practicing and you're doing what you can with your instrument gives me far more respect to you than a guy who's just going to sit there, put his instrument in the corner, and waste his time playing video games instead.
Hey Glenn, I've been watching your show for a couple years now. I've been recording for a long time, but I'm just now diving into acoustic treatment. I did watch your video on bass traps, and I'm trying to make my own. I looked on your channel to see if there's anything about door and window treatment and for a little bit of sound barrier. I couldn't find anything on your channel about that. I was thinking about using Automute sound blankets and the door kit that they have. I couldn't find any sort of reviews from anyone other than just people from Automute. Just wondering if you have a solution for windows and doors and a review of the Automute sound blankets. I'd also like to hear my comment all sped up. Fuck you, Glenn, from Asheville, North Carolina.
And fuck you, Michael, from Windsor, Ontario. In my situation, I didn't use any of those weird sound blankets and whatnot. What I did was I went to my local Home Depot and I got neoprene seals for the doors, and these are things you can put in your door frame, and what they'll do is they'll butt up against your door when it's closed and form an airtight seal, because that's what's going to make your door soundproof. Isn't so much something you put in front of it, but you need to make it airtight. Same thing with your windows. As long as they're weather sealed, you get in there with the caulking and fill in all the little cracks and whatnot. That's going to seal things up, and that's going to keep sound from escaping. That's what your studio needs to be. Now, I've said this numerous times on the show, and I'm going to say it one more time just so it's crystal clear. If you have any questions that I haven't covered on acoustics on my show, go to the John Sayers Studio Design Forum. It is a wealth of information. There's all kinds of amazing stuff in here. I built this control room based around one of John's designs, and I put this in 2003, and I've been in here ever since, and it's just an absolutely fantastic room to work in. That being said, if all goes well, I might get the chance to build a new studio this spring. I'm hoping I can. Anyway, depends on what town council has to say. See if I can put something in my backyard. I'm hoping it goes well. And if that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to document the entire process on a studio build and show you guys what we do from the ground up, how we seal the building, how we build the different rooms and all that, and just make it the most awesome project studio I possibly can make. Anyway, of course, to get notified on that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that good stuff. And once again, if you guys have a comment or a question, or better yet, if you have an opinion on SMG Drum Samples, can't believe I'm asking this question, but I understand that's for most of you guys out there. I want to hear from you. Do you guys want to see a set of SMG Drum Samples? Yes or no? I'd really appreciate some honest, creative feedback on that one. Anyway, you guys have an amazing weekend, and I am freaking out of here.